me to have you here, sir. You know it's yes, sir. मेरी हिम्मत को सराहो, मेरे हमराह चलो, मैंने एक शम्मा जलाई हवाओं के खिलाफ. Because sir has been working with the students who are not that, I mean, good financially. He has been helping students with rural background also. So this is the main thing, and I think it will be very helpful for our students also, who are a mixture and amalgamation of both the urban sectors and the rural areas. Apart from it, sir has written many books. No, sir has himself told me in all his humility to stop, so I won't say anything. Now, I would like to just say, like the topic today is regarding this trafficking law, critical appraisal of the trafficking bill. So, sir is prepared with all the stuff, and now sir will further enlighten and guide us upon this. Thank you very much, Dr. Anuragdeep. Now it's open to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adnan ji. Honorable Justice Dr. Bharat Bhushan ji, retired Judge High Court, Dr. Ritu Bharadwaj ji, Advocate Supreme Court of India, Dr. K.S. Bhati ji, Dhananjay Mishra ji, Dr. Neeti Sinha ji, Dr. M.K. Tyagi ji, other learned faculty members, researchers, and my very dear student Adnan, and other students, researchers, non-technical staff, my pranam to everyone. At the outset, I must acknowledge that this bill I have studied recently because of this invitation given by Adnan. I told him that I am not currently in touch, but Adnan insisted that no, sir, you are in the criminal law and you have to, and I'm really, really grateful to the college as well as Adnan that I thought that had I not read the bill, I must have missed many things. I acknowledge two of my interns in the preparation of these all documents, Shambhavi and Abhinav, and also acknowledge the help of Harshita, who has done LLM from ILI. So I will not go for a long, it is a PPT, but it is just 3-4 slides. So I don't think that we can go longer and longer, because a lot of philosophical understanding has been presented by Dr. Bharat Bhushan sir already. Practical understanding has been very brilliantly presented by Ritu Bharadwaj madam. So therefore, there is hardly anything substantial left, and so therefore, I feel it would be just a formality for me. As a teacher, let me introduce the topic that the Article 23 of the Constitution. We know Constitution of India or a written constitution is always basic law, and Article 23, which is a part of fundamental right, and fundamental rights we all know are the strongest right. It talks about prohibition of trafficking in human being. It does not only prohibits trafficking, but also makes it punishable. So the Constitution, our Constitution is a unique Constitution. Professor Upendra Bakshi once came to ILI and he indicated me that, see Anurag, our Constitution is a unique Constitution in the sense that it itself mandates criminalization. While Constitutions are meant for liberty, but our Constitution mandates criminalization. And though our Constitution is a federal Constitution where there are distribution of power and states have their own jurisdiction, our Constitution also mandates centralization, because Article 35 says that Parliament will make law on these things for uniformity purpose, though it is a matter of criminal law where basically the state should have made law. So in pursuance of that, IPC 370, 370A is already there. This current bill of 2021 proposes to delete IPC 370 and 370A. Second law is Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956, which has been amended, which Madam Ritu Bhardwaj has already mentioned. This law will exist. While IPC provisions will go, this law will exist even if the bill is passed. And then the current bill is Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Care and Rehabilitation Bill. Now, second important point is the brief introduction for the student's purpose. It contains 1 to 11 chapters, 1 to 59 schedule, 1 to 59 sections, and there is one schedule. The schedule deals with cognizable, non-cognizable offenses. So it is a comprehensive bill, and Madam Ritu has already dealt with various provisions. It contains preventive measures, rehabilitation. NIA will be the authority to investigate. There are new offenses, there are new punishment, and even capital punishment has already also been proposed. Now, capital punishment indicates that the parliament is not in mood to abolish capital punishment. Law Commission suggested that only in terrorism cases capital punishment should be given. This suggestion came in 2015. Many people want capital punishment to be abolished, but the parliament feels that no, capital punishment is still a very good punishment, deterrent punishment, and therefore capital punishment is incorporated. So intention of parliament is to stay with the capital punishment. Offenses, I have read offenses, I will not deal with that. But I feel offenses are very wide. I think it has been made wide probably because they want no iota of doubt that a person who is really a culprit should be left out of the clutches of the law. So sometimes when I read offenses, I find that these type of sections are not there in IPC the way long sections have been made. Therefore, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with very, very long sections mentioned. But then in last maybe few years, we can witness there are very, very long sections like JJ Act, like SC/ST Act. So maybe we can deal with that. But I think that we should be very careful when we make law. It should be precise. We cannot keep everything under criminal law. But anyway, if it helps, if it protects, I can go with this. I will welcome such provisions. Second important point for me is that each stage of the conduct is penalized. We knew that abatement is an offense since 1860 in IPC. So abatement, attempt, they are offenses already. But then if you are associated with such type of gang, such association is also made punishable. So mere association has also already been made punishable. Though it is not clear what type of association is this, because there is already a debate in the Supreme Court that association must be for a particular purpose. So suppose there is a criminal gang, I'm aware of that gang, that this particular gang deals with trafficking, and I'm associated with that. Is it itself sufficient for criminalization and punishment? Or the prosecution needs to prove that my association may be of passive type or active type. If I am mere associated, then it should not be punishable. If I am associated for the purpose of trafficking, then should it be punishable. There are, for other purposes, for example, for counter-terror laws, this type of law is already in the Supreme Court. Now, a country run by rule of law, they have to make law and they have to enforce law. And India is very good in making various laws. We have a number of laws, and we are very good in demanding more and more laws also. Why more laws? Probably we think that it is the law which is bad and therefore the convictions are not there. I think that is not the right approach. The correct approach is to focus more on enforcement. I'm not against this law. I have read the law, comprehensive law is there, and if law comes, I will welcome it. But my main concern is that are we going to discuss similar type of thing maybe after 30 years? in Thomas College that, okay, this law is not doing well, we need further law, and a fresh law should come in 2021, not only 59, 159 sections. Why this is so? Because we are probably not focusing on the enforcement aspect. Why there is conviction, means little conviction, why people cannot be caught? I understand there is some problem, and therefore some of them have been addressed in this. But if we don't have enough number of police personals, if we don't have enough number of judges dealing with that, can the new law will be as meaningful as it is thought to be? So these laws, I think we should also, with intellectuals, the government, the parliament, the civil society, we all should focus on how to enforce these laws. And I have presented 5 suggestions how to enforce these laws, which will come in the next slide. So my main suggestion is that let us not talk more about laws. Maybe some amendment is okay, but let us focus more and more on enforcement of law. So even if this law is passed, and I'm sure it will be passed and it will be a milestone, we should focus more and more on enforcement of laws, how to enforce these laws. The law contains, the present proposed law contains 11 chapters, which I had already discussed. These are the chapters which is there in the slide. I think the slide is visible to all. If it is not visible, please let me know. So it is a comprehensive, and as it is rightly suggested, it is a various provisions are there which makes reintegration in the society, which makes provision for preventive measures, which does not only concentrate on prosecution. So that is a comprehensive, that's a holistic approach, and therefore this law is welcome. I would only I was just finding one thing, and I found that there is one lacuna in this, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. I tried to find that suppose a person reports a crime, and reporting of crime is mandatory under these provisions. Reporting of crime is mandatory. But suppose a crime is reported in the police and the police does not register, which happens generally. We all have witnessed so many times that we go to the police and police does not register the crime for one reason or other reason, or registers the crime under lighter provisions. What is the provision for that? I have tried to read, but I might have missed it. If anyone has read that, if there is any provision that in case the crime is not registered by the police, is there any provision? You will recall that through 2013 amendment under CRPC, section 166A has been incorporated for rape and some offenses. Non-registration has been made penal offense. Under SC/ST Act also, non-registration is made penal offense. Under POCSO also, non-registration has been made penal offense. But I feel that probably this provision should have been there, that non-registration should have been made penal. Even if this provision is not there, section 7 and section 29 of the Police Act 1861 comes in picture, because it says that if a police officer does not do his work as per law or does it negligently, then certain punishment administrative measures can be there. But unfortunately, section 7 and 29 remained unutilized. So last important point is that how to enforce the laws. I think there can be 5 ways to enforce the laws. And this is general thing for every law, and this is therefore may be required for these laws. First is educative, that we should educate more and more about law, and therefore this is the responsibility of the government, responsibility of civil society, stakeholders especially, that they are aware of what the exact law is. Many times this people are not aware of, when the stakeholders are not aware of what the exact law is. The reason is simple. Reason is the workload. Reason is that the government and the people responsible are not able to approach these people. So the technical means, technology can be used to educate more and more people. Second is the persuasive means. Now we are educated, but we needed to be persuaded. Persuasion is required. And when persuasion is required, even if I know something and I'm not persuaded, I do not do it. So some persuasion. So persuasion may be in the form of these type of conferences, seminar, research articles, newspaper articles, writing more and more on Twitter and Facebook on these things. That can persuade more and more. So that is the second way to persuade. So if we find that the law is not being enforced, either this law or any other law, then we should persuade not to just sit like duck. Okay, हमसे क्या मतलब है? चलो लोग करेंगे. No. Indeed, you will recall, or we all will recall, that under fundamental duty part, Article 51A, clause C, clause H, it says that development of scientific temper is a fundamental duty of every citizen. Development, spirit of inquiry is the fundamental duty of every citizen. And then spirit of reform is the fundamental duty of every citizen. So we should write more and more on whatever ways it is there in the form of social media or anywhere, that if we find something wrong is going on, we must spare time and write. That is the persuasive way to do it. Third is the compulsive way. What is this compulsive way? Compulsive way is to incorporate trafficking in the course structure so that students and teachers are required to study that. I remember when we read criminal law during LLB, we had focus on 299, 300 and 34 and 149, but we have avoided these type of provisions. So I think while focus should still continue to be those principles, some provisions like 370, 370A, though it is going to be history in, once this law is passed, these type of things should be a part of course structure also, at least in PG courses. We should write more and more research articles, more and more conferences should be done. I was trying to Google and I was surprised to see that researchers have written more on free speech, more on democracy, more on many other things, but less on these things, maybe trafficking, maybe these people who are indeed someone who are neglected not only by the government, not only by the stakeholders, but by the academicians also. So this is one such way that we should give more and more research work to our students. This is compulsive. Using technology, monitoring. So technology should be used. If a police complaint is registered, the complaint must be recorded and that must go to some independent authority so that the complaints cannot be compromised. What is happening these days that the complaint goes to the police, and not all but some police officers, some police thana, they are engaged in corrupt business of managing all these complaints. So we must use technology, and a monitoring should be there. So this is one of the compulsive way. Coercive. What is coercive? So the police officer or other stakeholders, they are negligent in their duties, then administrative measures must be taken. That is provided in the Police Act and maybe in other places also. I have seen in many judgments, the courts have found that the police was negligent, but no action was taken either by the government. The government certainly will not take action because they are in some cases a party to these all things, because they engage police officers in various other duties like PIP duties and other things. So I think the court should come in, and when they find that there is negligence, they must take some action, and they have authority to do, especially the Supreme Court and some cases High Court. And last is the punitive way to enforce law. That I would say that would be last way. So punitive way, I have already suggested section 7 and 29 is there in the Police Act. Maybe some section may be incorporated in the bill for non-registration of crime. This can be punitive way. So these are 5 ways to enforce these laws. With this, I just conclude. I thank the organizer for such a brilliant discussion, and I'm really feel elated to be a part of this panel where one justice and one learned advocate has thrown various ideas which has enriched me very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving us this time and for enlightening us with your words. Thank you so much, sir. I would request Mr. Fahim Khan to please for his word of thanks.
Very good evening to everyone. Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Bharat Bhushan, and other esteemed guests, respected Dr. Ritu Bharadwaj, respected Professor Anurag Deep, sir, respected Dr. M.K. Tyagi, sir, respected Dr. K.S. Bhatti sir, and all participants. It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank all the dignitaries on the behalf of St. Thomas College of Law. I extend my warm welcome you all. I would like to express my gratitude to all esteemed guests of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. I extend my gratitude to our esteemed guests to take out time from their busy schedule to grace the event. Thank you for inspiring and encouraging us with their words. No doubt there are high hopes and some concerning surrounding the trafficking in person prevention care and rehabilitation bill 2021. I believe that it was a very thought provoking, informative and fruitful session to understand the whole dimension of proposed bill, and they covered each and every aspect of the bill. Moreover, this webinar helped us to understand the merits and demerits of the proposed law. I extend my gratitude to our esteemed guests. I also extend my thanks to all the participants who joined this webinar, and I hope you all have gained a better understanding about the proposed bill. Finally, I extend my thanks to entire faculty for their efforts to make this event successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Bhatti, sir, you are not audible actually. Your mic is off.
Oh, I had not unmuted myself. Eh?
Yes.
So my special thanks to Honorable Mr. Justice Parsoon, Dr. Ritu Bhardwaj, Dr. Anurag Deep for a brilliant disposition of this subject. We are really grateful and admire that your brilliance and your eloquence and your knowledge of the law and analysis of the law, it has gone a long way to illuminate the minds of our youngsters, our budding advocates. We are really grateful for sparing your valuable time to be with us, and we hope that in future also your blessings will continue to be showered on our students. So extremely grateful on behalf of the St. Thomas College of Law, its management, all faculty members and all the students, and a special thanks from me to all the three distinguished speakers of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And a special thanks to Simi Paul, the anchor of the program. She never comes out with her name. And a special thanks to Simi Paul for conducting this program so nicely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Congratulations, compliments to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Thank you so much, Anurag sir. Mostly people have left. If any of the students, if they have any queries, so Anurag sir is very much willing to answer the query. If anybody, if students are unable to ask, I request the youngsters to kindly ask questions to my dear teacher, Dr. Anurag. Yes, please.
Not only students, if learned faculty also want to comment on, agree or disagree with me, that is most welcome. That is most welcome.
Yes, sir. I would request our dear faculty member Dhananjay Kumar Mishra ji to kindly ask some question and further illuminate us, if you would like to add.
It's thank you so much, sir. I'm really thankful to Anurag Deep sir. So at least he cleared the picture of the entire scenario or humdrum situation which is enshrined in the law. With the ability, he is able faculty, and this is my most humble request to Dr. Anurag Deep Sahab say, please, I could not able to understand how it is work on the rehabilitation. It is very pertinent, and we do not understand the rehabilitation practice in de facto.
So can you repeat the question, Dhananjay ji? Your question is on rehabilitation, but what is the exact question?
My question is, in de facto rehabilitation, how we come to know about the rehabilitation in de facto? It's a only theoretical aspect. Rehabilitation, usually we know that the words connotes for the rehabilitation for prisoners. And now this act clearly states about the rehabilitation towards the victim. It is really wonderful, but we cannot understand how it took place, how it will be materialized or realized, so far as the realization of the rehabilitation is concerned.
Got the point. I think I'm not competent enough to answer, and probably Ritu Madam was the most competent person, or maybe Justice was, because both had practical experiences. But from my experience, I can suggest that number one, rehabilitation is, we have heard about accused and not about victims because of various reasons, but rehabilitation is equally applicable to both. And because the victims, many times they are psychological effect, but in these cases, trafficking cases, there is not only psychological effect, there are physical effect also. They have been migrated, they have been sold to someone, they have been raped, or they have been exploited. So there are various points. Number one, that sometimes some of them accept it because time has gone, and now they feel that okay, we are okay with these type of things. So how to change this attitude? Second is that suppose someone is migrated from maybe Chhattisgarh to Delhi or maybe Mumbai. Now, if they go back, how to integrate with the society? This is another problem. Not only the problem of integration, that can we give them some job? Means suppose there are many. Means suppose on a raid we found a group of girls, but if the group of girls have come, now what to do with that? Means whether there are employment opportunities for them. I'm not just talking about how society is going to accept this. This is certainly a problem which is very difficult, but at least we can think of employment opportunities for them. Compensation provision has been made in this law, that is very good. That immediate compensation can be given to them so that they can start something. But more important for me is that how these state committees or district committees which is provided in this act is going to work, because the government themselves cannot do. They are so much burdened. Just in our ILI, law minister has just interacted with us, and it was a sudden program, therefore I was delayed, and he also told us that we are burdened with so many things, we cannot think on reform. So you people, teachers especially, sometimes lawyers, they can come to us with concrete reforms, answering all ifs and buts. So we can give funds, this is one. We can approve, give government authority, but don't just expect that we will also do reform. Come to us with a concrete proposal. So how to provide, how to make available to them a good place to stay? So can we find those type of people, a group of people who are comfortable with them? So this is how the rehabilitation can take place. Secondly, there are already some concrete work going on in India. We need to copy some of them. We need to focus on them. So this is how we can, I think we can do rehabilitation, and that is possible. And in some cases that is happening also. Any other query? Any other question or query?
I forced to say one thing, Professor Dr. Anuragdeep Sahab. It's your style of teaching is really mesmerizing, and we can't say, I can't control my emotion to say the few words for you. It's really stupendous to say that your style of teaching and your presentations, it's allure the student and create the environment where the people enjoy a lot with the information, and you have a ability to clear the all picture. Really, thank you so much with all my heart.
I will only add 2 lines from a movie. यूं ही कहो कहते रहो अच्छा लगता है.
Dear sir, what I would like to say is, as I have been taught the basics of criminal law, especially the mens rea part, especially by Professor Anurag Sahab. So I have tried to inculcate his impeccable style and method of teaching, especially the dissection of the Bayer Act. Sir, you can, आप भी झलकियां अनुराग साहब की मेरे में थोड़ा बहुत देख सकते हैं. और दूसरा डॉक्टर साहब से मेरी ये रिक्वेस्ट है, भाटी साहब अगर सुन रहे हैं तो, कि सर कभी फिजिकल अगर हमारे वहाँ क्लास हो तो छोटे बच्चे जो हमारे हैं उनको कई दफा सर स्क्रीन इनहिबिशन है, थोड़ा सा शर्माते हैं. जी सर, मैं ये रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा था कि प्रोफेसर अनुराग साहब मतलब विलिंग है, उनको जब मेरी स्केड्यूल में अगर टाइम मिले तो हमारे कॉलेज आके बच्चों को थोड़ा सा इंटरेक्ट कर लें. जो हमारे
ये तो we'll be grateful, and we have a right also over him, and because I come from the same organization where he is now holding the place, so we have a loving right also over them.
Yes,
he would be always welcome.
But Adnan, I would also suggest that because of this online platform, I'm available anytime for the students, and so you can connect.
Really, thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time also, and always you are ready to help and teach our students also. They will be immensely benefited by your wise wisdom, and it will always encourage them also to become good lawyers.
Yes. So, Adnanji, if there are no other queries, am I allowed to leave?
Yes, sir, but you are allowed to leave for the moment. So we will be in connect. And sir, Bhatia Sahab and our students, we are waiting to sir physically, and many times we will try to make it more interactive, sir. From next time, we will try to bring up. We will try to push them so that they can be more interactive with you, so they can learn things, sir. So, sir himself has suggested that the students should be interacting, and when sir came to know that rural background students are coming, so he himself is very much willing to help. So, sir, we will try to be very interactive, and thank you so much.
That's great. That's great. That's wonderful. That's great. Thank you, Professor Anurag. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So can we now wind it up?
Yes, sir. Jaisa aap kahe.
Hello, sir. Thank you very much. Compliments to all of you for organizing this program. And then we meet. You will be there on Sunday, but Monday I'll meet you.
Yes, sir.
Till then, my best wishes to all of you, and hearty thanks to you all.
Sunday is off, no? I think so.
Thank you.